What's up, friends? It's time for another episode of Easy Bass Fishing. Now, it's raining today, as you can see here behind me. Maybe you can hear behind me that it's raining. But anyway, first question is, should I fish in the rain? Can I fish in the rain? Complicated answer. So, yes, you can fish in the rain. It's a great time to catch a lot of fish. I've caught loads and loads of fish in the rain. In fact, I've got another YouTube video where it's driving down rain and I'm catching a bass on a swim jig. So yeah, bass absolutely do hit during the rain. It's a great time to fish. However, there are things that complicate the issue. One of them is your reel. Some reels you can get wet and some reels you can't. You need to read up on your reel and see if that's something that is going to mess up the reel. Sometimes when rain gets all up in a reel, then it can really mess the thing up if it's not real tight sealed. Furthermore, fishing in the rain is not a problem. Fishing in the lightning is an extreme problem. This 7-foot heavy action rod like I got here is essentially a giant lightning rod. It's a giant graphite rod that's in your hand. That could be bad. So if there's any sign of lightning at all, thunder, no go. If it's just rain falling from the sky, water falling from the sky, no big deal. You're not seeing or hearing lightning anywhere, then go ahead and fish. Now, when it starts raining, start thinking about topwater. That's not to say that's the only thing they eat when it rains. As I said a second ago, out of another video where I caught a bass on camera for you on a swim jig in the rain. And so they hit spinnerbaits and they hit all sorts of stuff in the rain. But a lot of times what happens is, there's two main things that are happening in the rain. Water level's coming up. So the water level is creeping up on new grass and new vegetation, new brushes and new trees and stuff like that. And a lot of the bait fish will get up in that stuff to get out of the current and to feel safe. But consequently, the predatory fish also move up shallower and start working in that really shallow water, looking for bait fish that are trying to get out of the current. They're trying to get out of the muddy water. They're trying to stay somewhere safe and stay up close to vegetation and structure so they can stay safe. Now, so they're up there working too. Now, another thing is, remember, bass is an ambush predator, so he's going to find some way to not be seen while he's looking around for fish, he or she, little bait fish. Now, a lot of times what they'll do, because during the rain, the whole top 6 or 8 inches of water is really chaotic. Okay, it's really messed up on the top. The light's going all over the place. The whole shallow water area is sort of chaotic and disrupted at the time. And a lot of times these big fish will come up real shallow and sit in a foot of water or less because they know that the little bait fish that are around don't really see them very well. Can't really make out what they are. They're sitting real still and everything's kind of chaotic and moving around anywhere. Not really sure what that thing is. Maybe it's a log, maybe it's a rock, maybe it's a bush. Not really sure. It's just kind of a dark object over in the distance there. What that is a big old bass that's ready to jump out and grab something. And that's how they hunt in the rain, oftentimes. So a lot of times, your bites come real shallow. So, perfect segue, I'm going to show you probably the easiest way to fish really shallow if you're new. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit different ways to do this. So this is going to be a frog lure that is not an inflated floating frog. It's not an inflatable floating frog. You can't stop with it. It'll sink. This is a soft plastic frog that you're going to throw out. You're going to reel right back in. It's going to look a little bit like a buzzbait on top of the water, and I've got some tricks to make that action better for you. Today I'm rigging a small ribbit frog. Ribbit frogs are not the only frog on the market. Matter of fact, probably one of the first frogs like this was the Zoom horny toad, is what they called the product. But as you see, it's this sort of little frog. It looks like a little frog a little bit. But that's about it. It's got these little kicking tails, and this thing runs right up on the surface of the water, and you get little tails kicking around, goes nuts, shooting water everywhere, and bass goes, ooh, that looks like food, and you can hear it, see it, everything else, and goes and gets it. So that's how it works. So I'm going to show you how to do this with a ribbit frog, though, mainly because that's what I like to fish, and secondarily because it's white and it's going to show up on camera real well. So what I've got for you, what you need in terms of rigging, your main need is this 3/0 Mustad hook. 3/0. 3/0. I'm using the small size frog. And so if you put it up on there, you'll see that any other hook size won't fit. If you go with a 4 or 5, it's not going to fit. So if you're going to use a small size frog, it must be a 3. Here's what's going to go on the line first. I'll talk about line in a minute because a lot of people say you can't do this with anything but braided line. But watch. First thing I'm going to start with is a number 5 gold swivel or copper swivel. That's going to go on the line first. I know you're thinking, Rainey, you've gone crazy again. I haven't gone totally crazy, maybe a little crazy, but this will all make sense in a moment. What I'm doing here while I'm rambling is tying a Palomar knot. I've already done a video on this, so I'm not going to take a ton of time to explain how it's done. I'm just going to get it done. Okay, so I've got a swivel hanging on. I've got a gold swivel hanging on to a 3/0 hook and a Palomar knot. Okay, take your frog. Just like a Texas rig. Hopefully you've noticed a theme so far. This is the easiest way to bass fish, honestly. I'm gonna go into the frog body, hide the knot like we do. Go right square in the middle of the frog. And as you'll notice, there's sort of a bit of a depression, a line in the bottom of the frog. And the hook is going to sit down into that, watch. Sits down into that. I'm not going to tuck the tip of the hook on this one. Hook sets are tough on this deal. Oh, you know what? I missed a step. My fault. My fault. Here you go. I forgot to hook the swivel around. Take the swivel, watch closely. I'm gonna put the hook through the other end of the swivel. And it's gonna create this situation right here. There's a reason for that. This frog runs right on the top of the water. So it's coming through the water like so, runs right on top of the water. And this swivel here creates a lot of turbulence. It pushes up a sort of a bow wake of water up under the nose of that bait and keeps it up on the surface longer. So when you make a really long cast with it, the swivel helps it get up onto the surface faster, and you can move it slower and keep it in the strike zone longer because of the swivel pushing on the front of the nose of that lure. So you've got some essentially back pressure, and you can slow that bait down. The slower you can move it, the better. The faster you can get it up on top of the water, the better. If you use the large size frog, the 5-inch frog, you need a number 1 size swivel. If you use the small frog, like I've got here, you need a 3/0 hook and a number 5 size swivel, like so. Now, a lot of people will tell you can only do this technique on braided line. There's a good reason for that, because you're fishing this stuff, you're fishing these around structure. You're gonna fish them around grass. Wherever you find floating grass, throw the frog. Wherever you see stumps and stuff, throw the frog. You see water coming in, a creek coming in, or a little drainage coming in, throw the frog over there. And there's gonna be lots of vegetation. So a lot of times you catch a big bass, but you're also catching about 10 pounds of vegetation with it, because it grabs it and goes straight into the grass. That's what they do. So they're gonna poof, grab it, and you'll see a fish blow up on it, and they're gonna go straight into heavy cover, because that's where they hide, right? So you need the line to be strong enough to handle a fight through cover. It doesn't affect the way the frog works. So if you're not fishing around heavy cover, go ahead and use you can use a good mono, like this is P-line that I got on here. This is a good mono. You can do that if you're not fishing around trees and stuff like that. If you're fishing around heavy cover, go ahead and use braid. Likewise, if you're using around heavy cover, you need a heavy rod. If you're not, you can get away with a medium heavy action or a medium action rod on this. That's fine. Today I'm going to be using a giant 7-foot heavy action rod and heavy line because I'm fishing around a lot of cover.